And welcome to Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya. Now, more than ever, I'm Jeff Koinange. Now, it being midweek, it's only fair that we switch gears from diplomatic spouses and tackle matters of national interest, because there's been a lot of talk, there's been a lot of write-ups, there's a lot of bad news out there. Fuel prices through the roof, food prices unaffordable. What's going on with the Constitution Implementation Committee? Interviews for Chief Justice. Good grief. The bench cannot sit back and just allow that to happen. We need to put some matters front and center. And on the bench today is a man who fears nobody, who calls it like he sees it. Not only is he an accomplished publisher, he has a write-up every weekend in the newspapers, his own column, where he tackles issues like the ones we're about to talk about. I tell you folks, this man, every time he comes on the bench, you all say you want more. We have heard you. We're giving you more. So sit back, folks. He's the only Barrack with the 2 R's. It's in Barrack Muluka.
You know, it's always a pleasure
Always.
to be here, Jeff.
Always Barrack, because you know you call it.
To speak and have a meeting of minds with you and with my fellow Kenyans.
Yes, and you know, you a few minutes ago you was talking about some Greek mythology. I'm going to get to that because you have broken it down, and something about Mtego wa Panya. We need to talk about that because this is Kenya today. But first, fuel prices, Barrack. This is shocking.
Yes, it is extremely shocking. Of course, it is true that the problem seems to be everywhere in the globe. I've seen that in the United States of America, it is a matter of concern to President Barack Obama. Barack with 1 R.
Yes.
Obama, it is a matter of concern to very many other people. Let us begin from that platform because of the goings on in the oil producing nations in the Middle East, in Libya and elsewhere. But that aside, here we seem to have a knack for just getting it wrong all the time. They are vested interests. And people in this country occupy positions not so that they can serve Kenyans, but so that they can eat. Yeah, and on account of that, we have been experiencing problems in the energy sector for quite some time now. We had the Triton scandal, yes, which disappeared. We have yet to take full stock of the impact of that on the fuel costs. We have yet to look at questions of who is involved with the procurement of petroleum from wherever it may come from up to here. We are hearing now even that they are going to circumnavigate the oil refinery in Mombasa, that now importers are supposed to bring in refined fuel. And we don't know what the full impact of that is, beyond the fact that it becomes the prime mover that moves the cost of everything else. Power tariffs, energy, electricity tariffs, the cost of food, the cost of other essentials, and somebody will have to do something about that.
And I heard the minister saying the other day, Minister for Energy saying, our refinery, you talked about the refinery is not up to speed, it's not working the way it should do. Didn't they know this before? Did they just wake up and realize, oh, by the way, the refinery is not refining as quickly or as much as it should?
That is the riddle, that you wake up one morning and you suddenly is it a question of failure? We have invested so much in the pipeline from the 1970s up to where we are. We are told that it has been redone a number of times. And it's a question of a leadership that is completely rudderless, because the rudder should have read this a long time ago and taken the essential remedial measures. And you can see that amidst all this, even as the authorities that be are coming to address these questions in various press conferences. You can see the glee on their faces, the swagger in their bodies. You can see that these are well-fed, satisfied people who really do not care much about the impact of these things upon the ordinary citizen. The tragedy of the fellows who are privileged to exercise power is that they keep on saying, no, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad. That, well, if the people have put up with it this far, they can put up with it a little longer. They forget the famous saying that it was the last straw, the last piece of grass that broke the camel's back. And each day when you hear next week the prices are likely to go up, that nothing seems to be happening to elevate the conditions of living for the ordinary person, they forget that they're piling the straws. And the moment is not very far when the last straw will break the camel's back.
Yeah, absolutely, Barrack, because Wananchi can only take so much. And passing on all these costs to Wananchi, and we see them, when you're driving in your car, you see people who are walking to work in the rain, in the cold. They've gone and they've made their 80 shillings in industrial area. They're walking back home. That 80 shillings now cannot take them as far as it did 2 weeks ago. It's getting desperate out there, Barrack.
Nobody wants to walk to work. Nobody
except Besigye, but that's another story.
Even Besigye doesn't like to walk to work. He's doing what he's doing symbolically, as a message, as a statement that it's gotten this bad. We must come out of our comfort zones. What Besigye is doing is an invitation to the ruling class of Africa to come out of its comfort zone and feel a bit of the pinch that the ordinary fellow is feeling and accept that they are going to have to address it. Because we talk even about people who walk to work. There are people who walk to nowhere, because even that place which we call to work does not exist. And there is nothing as bad, as volatile, as a people who have lost all hope. Yes. Situations such as ours in Kenya are particularly volatile because every so often we pep up citizens' hopes. We pepped up the people's hopes in 1991 when we got them to believe that we introduced the politics of multi-party competition and their problems would be solved. They were not solved. Then we started saying everything is possible without Moi, and that again pepped up the people's expectations. We saw that in 2003, Kenyans were said to have been the most hopeful people in the world. Okay, a few years down the line, they lost hope again. This gone year, 2010, we pepped up their hopes again with a new constitution, which we are now frustrating. Now, such are people who keep on being fed on the diet of pepped up hope get to a point when they lose hope. And when they do, they are more volatile than the most volatile machine anywhere in the world.
So what's the solution, Barrack? Where do we go from here? Because you're right. I mean, the euphoria has gone from the promulgation. Someone has let the air out of the balloon, and it's not looking pretty.
The issue is that on a daily basis, unless you die, everybody must find something to eat. It is one of the laws of nature that to stay alive, you will have to find something to eat. And there's no way the hungry people of this country are going to stay in the hovels where they live and say, we are hungry, we have nothing to eat. They will have to find something to eat. If they can't find the money to use to buy what to eat, they will still have to find something to eat. If they cannot negotiate to find what to eat, they will still have to find something to eat. And when that moment comes, and that is the rat trap that we were speaking about a little earlier, they say that one day the rat told the cock outside the house that a trap has been set up in that house And the cock said, so what does that have to do with me? I'm not a rat. Then the rat went and said to the goat that a trap has been set up in that house. And the goat said, I never go into houses. Then the rat went and said to the bull, there's a rat trap in that house. And the bull of the home said, oh, really? Those are rat matters. Okay? Yeah. So anyway, in the night, the rat caught something. And the owner of the house went to find out what it was. It turned out to have been a snake, which bit him. And the neighbors came and they killed the snake because the snake had bitten the owner of the house. So the first victim to go was a snake. Then the visitors who had come to kill the snake and to see this mzee had to eat something. The cock was killed. Then the following day, there were more visitors. Then the goat was killed. On the fourth day, the man died, and they had to, it was in Luya land, where we feed people at funerals. Yes. Yeah? The bull had to go. So it doesn't matter. The bull, which had said those are rat matters, it went. So did the goat. And these things that are happening in this country today, you can choose to be the goat, you can choose to be the bull, you can choose to be the cock, and say those are matters that do not touch you. When the critical moment comes where the rubber meets the hard surface, everybody will have to be part and parcel of this thing. The poor, hungry people, when they think about the happy, the complacent, the rich, they think about the next door neighbor. The people who live in the slums of this country, they do not care that you have been buying a house on Naivasha Road and that you have been paying a mortgage by installment for the past 12 years and you are nowhere near finishing. When a push comes to shove, they see in you the image of the rich man, of the oppressor. Worse still is a middle class that is getting completely unhappy because it can no longer afford the pretensions. You know, the middle class is a fairly pretentious class where you and I and some others belong. We aspire to the things that belong to the feudal lords of this world, trying to run away from the poor world where we actually belong in real practice. And increasingly we cannot afford to put fuel in our cars. Increasingly we cannot afford to fashion the breakfast table that increasingly we cannot go for lunch where we have always gone. Now that is the moment of rapture setting in, because there's a sense in which such people say to themselves, look, we have been to school, we have got the skills, we have got the core competencies, the environment is not allowing us, and they go haywire. That's what happened in Tunisia. The people who have not enjoyed good education and such like preparation to confront life have a certain sense of saying to themselves, maybe it's because I didn't go to school. Maybe it's because we were always meant to be poor. But there are people like the young man in Tunisia who set himself on fire, Bouzi. There are very many like him. And in this country, there are very many people who are waving university certificates all over the place. But they cannot get anywhere with those certificates. They get completely disillusioned. People who have been working in the office and whose salaries cannot even stretch across the first 5 days of the month. You start losing those ones and you are slipping into disaster.
And our leaders cannot see this. They cannot see there's a Tunisia looming, there's an Egypt looming, or worse yet, there's a Libya looming. Can they not see this, Barrack?
The tragedy of people in power is that when we say the sort of things that we are saying to them, they think that is Barrack. Yeah? They say, oh, those ones like talking like that. They even think that you are the cause of the trouble. And this has happened right through the pages of history. From the days of the Great French Revolution of 1789 to 92, that the Queen was even saying, oh, what are those people doing in the streets? They have no bread. If they have no bread,
let them eat cake.
Let them eat cake. Okay? That King Louis XIV of France started even saying that the state is me. He said, l'état c'est moi et je suis l'état. Yeah, the state is me and I am the state. They start behaving like that. They lose touch with reality. When you tell them that there's a tornado coming, you tell them that the floods are coming, they don't listen. In the days of Noah of the Bible, he was telling the people, the floods are coming.
And they laughed.
And they laughed. Yeah, that the royalty in France, in Europe, was told the floods are coming, and they didn't listen. That the people who are in charge in Africa are being told the floods are coming. The other day, Kofi Annan was in South Africa with Mzee Olusegun Obasanjo, and they were telling African leaders that the time for you to style up is now. Or if you don't style up now, there is a tornado which is coming, a cyclone, and it's going to sweep through you like nothing. They don't think about that.
Including you, the ruling class.
Yes.
Barrack, I want to talk more about that because that is fascinating. Only you can put it in that context. And also that Greek mythology you were talking about. What is that expression?
I was telling you about the Deus ex machina. It's
Deus ex machina.
Ex machina.
Yeah. I love it. Only Barrack Muluka could break it down like that. The question is anybody out there listening? Because this is what it is. It is what it is. From Tunisia to Egypt and now Libya, Ivory Coast, don't forget, the signs are there. What are we doing about it? Are we just going to let it happen and get swept by that tornado that Barrack Muluka is talking about? Think about it. These are issues that need to be addressed. And they can only be addressed right here on the bench. So don't even think of switching that channel, because the bench is back in a moment. And welcome back to Capital Talk. What a week it's turning out to be. That's why we needed to address these national issues, because when things, for lack of a better word, get thick, we need to step up. We need to address them. We need to put them out there so that those who call themselves our leaders hopefully can listen. Barrack Muluka calls it like he sees it, and he sees a tornado just like others. A tornado is on its way, and we're just sitting here saying it cannot be that bad. Can it? Sit back. Deus ex machina.
Yes, the plot thickens. Yeah, and you know, in a sense, like the great poet said, Shakespeare, that the world is a stage and there are different roles and we are all playing different roles. In that kind of drama, you get to a point where the plot becomes so complicated that you only need intervention from outside to come and resolve the conflict. You need a goddess out of a machine, a deus ex machina. Yeah, to put it in the original idiom. You can look at us here. We are fooling around with the judiciary. We have got what you may want to call institutionalized anarchy by way of interviews for the Chief Justice. We have got a parliament that has lost sense of direction, that with only 3 months left to have given us a raft of not less than 17 legislations. Some people say 29. They are wrangling, quarreling about who sits on which stool. And we are looking like we have completely lost a sense of direction.
We've lost the plot, Barrack.
The plot has thickened and become very complicated. Some people are saying that they are walking out of all parliamentary committees. We don't even know what the legal position of that would be, whether they indeed can walk out. Others are making machinations on a daily basis to, in fact, dominate that parliament and use it as a rubber stamp. The Mwananchi is forgotten. There are fellows who are dying in Ngong out of some culpable recklessness. There are fellows who are dying of starvation, of hunger, that at some point fuel just disappears completely in all our cities and in the villages, that vehicles cannot move, you know, that is institutionalized or organized anarchy. And when you have anarchy of this kind in the ancient Greek mythology, it looks like the situation is beyond the dramatis personae to resolve, and you need an external hand to come and intervene and resolve the crisis, to resolve the conflict. And they said in that Greco-Roman theater, they would lower a goddess onto the stage from up. Yeah? And that goddess would then employ the mysterious powers of the divine world to resolve the situation. And you have seen goddesses out of machines intervening in crisis situations such as this. The question is, what kind of machine is it? The question is, what kind of goddess is it? The question is this machine spitting a goddess who is fire? And if this goddess is fire, who is this fire sorting out? Does it spare anybody? Does it take us back to the rat trap that killed those who are part of the bargain and those who are not? At some point, this thing concerns all of us. All right-thinking Kenyans must do something about this. And one of our biggest letdowns, disappointments, is the educated class, because we are supposed to be the ones who are blazing the trail, advising our so-called communities. But we worship outside empty tribal shrines, so long as we think that there's a tribal high priest inside that thing. Positions are right or wrong depending on what the tribal high priest is telling us. Things are no longer objectively good or bad, right or wrong in this country. And that has denied us the opportunity to take the essential corrective measures, thinking that we can sit at the tribal high table of hope and get our own shares of the tribal goodies. We are a big disappointment, and we need to start talking plainly to the tribal overlords and tell them that this cannot last, that it has no life, it has no mileage, it has no energy. We are going nowhere.
Yeah. It's the equivalent of the wildebeest migration, Barrack, isn't it, in a way?
Yes. You see the wildebeest migration, like in this country today, you have got, let's be very honest, because future generations must know what really happened in this country, that there is an intra-class struggle, not intra-class struggle between what you may want to call the Luo Nyanza political elite and the central Kenya political elite, with others playing the role of what you may want to call pawns, and that it's sort of like the wildebeest is migrating and the food is moving, and as the food is moving, that the carnivores are following the herbivores, they are following the food they want to eat. Look at it from this platform, that when the Luo political elite and the Kikuyu political elite, and I'm not saying when the Luo and the Kikuyu, the Luo political elite and the Kikuyu political elite, when they jostle for power, you find the Kalenjin class, political class, saying that my enemy's enemy is my friend. So in 2007, they come together and say, our enemy is Kibaki and the Kikuyu political elite, and Raila is their enemy, so Raila and the Luos are our friends. Then they fall through. After they have fallen through, they go to the other side. And of course, Raila has had a fundamental problem with them in that regard. It's like a man who decides that he's going to have a Congress, if you want, with a twilight lady. And he either fails to honor his promise, or he refuses. And she goes all over the place with this name. That is what has happened to him. So these fellows therefore join the other side. Okay, not that they believe in anything fundamental that they share. And so they are moving and they are fighting each other. And somebody, some animal has got to die, even if it's only a political death. And you have the herbivores therefore running, and in this case I think Raila and his elite start becoming the herbivores, and the central Kenya community, they become the political community, not all of them, they become the carnivores. And you have got others like from western Kenya, you have others from Ukambani like a vice president, they are hovering above them like the vultures. They know that food is going to be here very soon. Yeah. And they hope that the owners of that food will not eat it, that they can, and if they don't finish it, they can eat the leftovers. That's why you don't find the leaders from Western Province, for example, speaking about the things happening in the country, from Kisii, from the coast. They are waiting to see which side the carcass is going to be so that they can come and eat. And like the VP, you could say that he's a leader in that regard. Yeah, the carrions, they are following. Yeah. They are waiting for the moment, maybe hoping this one can go to the Hague, and this one also can go to the Hague. And since I'm the one who has been saying I'm their friend, I can now come and take over. And the other fellow also hoping that something can happen to these ones. Meanwhile, the fundamental questions which we should be addressing have been forgotten.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. But you have just broken it down. And I hope there are people listening and watching right now, because Shakespeare couldn't have said it any better.
Absolutely not, because it is a stage. And we are playing these various roles. Some are playing the role of carnivores. They expect to kill the wildebeest. Others are playing the role of vultures and birds, the carrion birds, that they will come and eat what is left. Yeah, and scavenge. You know, the scavengers, yes, that's the word. Yes. Yeah, that they're scavengers. They're waiting for the opportunity. They really do nothing about it. Look at these things which are happening in Parliament, for example. Apart from, let me go back home in Western Province, yes, where I was born many years ago. Apart from Babu Namwamba, who has taken a position, and apart from Eugene Wamalwa, who has taken a position, regardless of the merits or the demerits of those positions, do you hear any leaders from Western Province taking a position on the monumental things that are happening in our country today? Do you see them anywhere?
It's shameful.
They are waiting for the opportunity
to scavenge. It's shameful, Barrack. It's shameful.
Absolutely.
And in the meantime, Wananchi are suffering.
The Mwananchi is suffering. And the Mwananchi himself or herself needs to be educated to stop believing that when these fellows are in trouble or when these fellows are enjoying, that you are also sharing in that. Yeah. This thing of it is our turn. You know, eating cannot be a symbolic thing. You cannot eat and then we say you are symbolically eating for us. We consider that we have eaten because you have eaten. Yeah. No,
we're still hungry.
God gave me a mouth of my own and a tummy here of my own, just so that I may eat. And Mahatma Gandhi used to say that there are enough resources in this world for everybody's satisfaction, but they are not enough for everybody's greed. And the Mwananchi can see that this one is greedy. And we even come and troop behind some greedy tribal leaders because they are from our so-called tribe. Like somebody used to say, how many more sufurias of ugali get onto the table in your house because the fellow in charge is from your so-called tribe? When fuel disappears in Nairobi, for example, it doesn't matter that President Mwai Kibaki, who is in State House, is from Central Kenya.
We're all suffering.
We are all suffering. Yeah. It doesn't matter that Raila Odinga, who is Prime Minister, is from Luo Nyanza. We are all caught up in it. When the cost of food escalates, there are no shops set aside for Central Kenya and shops set aside. Even the ones in Kiambu and the ones in Homa Bay, the prices are equally challenging to all those communities. And we need to start identifying the real enemy in this country and to recognize that there are only two tribes in this country. The haves and the have-nots. The tribe which is trying to abort the justice system reform in the country, for example, and their competitors. That there are people in this country who, for example, over the past 7 or so years have made what is called new money. Yeah? That when you, Jeff, you get into State House, you decide that you have your boys and girls and we make new money. That there are people who have been there who are eyeing the new money we are making and they wish that they could be there. That there are others out there who have never made and they are waiting for the opportunity to make money. And we create a crisis. We make it look like this is a Kikuyu affair, this is a Luo affair, this is an Akamba affair. It is not. It has never been. And until the day we wake up to that reality and stop taking positions, because the Kikuyu, this is the position, the Luo, this is the position, the Kalenjin, this is the position. Until the day the people refuse being led around like sheep. The fellows can stand on the rostrum and say that we are voting as a bloc this way, that we are voting as a bloc that way, and you follow.
We only have ourselves to blame.
Absolutely.
Right, Barrack?
Entirely. And we must wake up.
I love it, my brother. I love it when you break it down, man. We must wake up. And Mahatma Gandhi says there's enough resources for everyone,
Yes.
but not everyone's greed. Love it. Barrack Muluka's talking. Is anybody out there listening? Because this man has literally just broken it down. This is the way it is. Which way are you going to go? You decide. Because the bench can only put it out there. The rest is up to you. Good grief, what a guest Barrack is. This man from Greek mythology to Shakespeare to Mahatma Gandhi, breaking it all down for us. And of course, the wildebeest migration and the rat trap. Wow, you cannot make this stuff up. And you cannot find guests like Barrack Muluka anywhere else, but right here on the bench, on the award-winning station, K24, where we are, even in times of rat traps, we're all Kenyan.
All the time.
And every time.
Everywhere.
Capital Talk is filmed at Fairmont, the Norfolk.